question becomes really, we'll get started with this. Why are you here? So you decided to come to this webinar, and yeah, maybe some of you are here because you knew we were doing it and you love us and you want to support us, and that's really a beautiful, beautiful thing. But nevertheless, you're here. And so something brought you to this program, or brings you to this type of a program. And here are some of the possibilities. I'd like you to just think about these as we work our way through them. And I'd just like you to kind of decide in your own head, is that true? Is that something that really matches for me right now? So are you here because there's some sort of problem going on in your life, or with someone that you really care about that you're trying to solve? And you might be hoping that by learning what you can learn in a program such as this, you'll be able to deal with those sorts of problems more effectively. So is there a problem? Is there some sort of an opportunity that you want to pursue? You're trying to seize that opportunity. So something you have really good out there, you can see it. And you really just want to make sure you can get there, and you can get there efficiently, and you'll be happy when you get there, et cetera. So are you here because you've got some sort of an opportunity already in mind, and you just like to take that opportunity to its greatest expression? Are you here because you have some sort of a basic need that you're trying to satisfy? It might be that what it is that you will learn from the Oracle itself will just help you to deal with the daily activities more easily, more effectively, more gently. So just taking care of what needs to be taken care of. Is that what's going on? Maybe, just maybe, you have a combination of those things. You got more than one. But maybe also the case is that you're one of the people who have a general interest that you are exploring. So maybe it's an inner awareness that you're expanding, a period of personal growth that you're experiencing. You're here because you love to develop, you love to grow, you love to evolve, and you like going to these kinds of programs, watching these kinds of videos, because they help you to do that. And so whatever your reason is for being here, we're glad you're here, and we want to make sure that everyone who participates in the program gets exactly what they were hoping to get. And so very important for you guys to give a little bit of thought to why exactly are you here. And it might change as we work our way through the year, but always think about, why am I here? What am I really trying to do? And we'll make sure that all happens. So let's get into today's subject. This is Winter 1, Hearing Your Authentic Voice. So let's take a little look about what we really mean by winter. Now, winter is a time, if we're looking at gardening, we're looking at things that are, in the world of agriculture, et cetera. Winter is a time where things retreat into the ground. So they want to kind of stop what's happening on the surface, focus what's going on under there. So maybe there's some rest that has to happen, some restoration, repair and reflect, and get themselves ready for the new season to come out. So spring, they'll be ready when the temperatures warm up so they can emerge doing whatever it is. And so this, as far as the seasons of development are concerned, winter will take us 12 weeks to work our way through, and the winter season is brought to us by the letter R. And so all the activities we're going to be looking at, all the things we're going to be looking at for whatever the fun might be, happen to start with the letter R. So this first one, hearing your authentic voice. Hearing your authentic voice. Now, we'll get into this discerning what is your authentic voice from what are the other voices you might be hearing, and what you'll learn is the chorus of the mind. But to kind of get this rolling, I want to just immediately put you into an exercise. And this exercise is going to involve 30 seconds of silence. What we'd like you to do is just think about what's going on in life for you right now. Just think about what's going on in life for you right now. And I'll give you 30 seconds to do that. Okay, that was about 30 seconds. Now, If you're like most people, within that 30 seconds, you didn't have a single thought. How many thoughts went through your head in 30 seconds? Were they all on the same subject, or how many different subjects did you touch upon as your mind moved from here to there to wherever else your mind was moving? Were the thoughts random, kind of jumping from one to another, or were they very sequential? Were the thoughts that you were having visual? You were thinking in terms of pictures? Was it auditory? You were actually remembering things you've heard, things people have said, things you've said to other people? Was it auditory? Was it kinesthetic, something you were actually feeling, something you could feel inside of your body, you know, a rumble or whatever? You know, was there a kinesthetic kind of element to it? Were you really thinking more about feelings you were having about what was going on, the emotional side of thing, or was it about the facts and figures and all the details? Were you primarily being logical, or were you primarily being emotional, or someplace in between? Which of your values and your beliefs, your opinions, your attitudes came into play as you did this? Now, as you start to take that inventory, you'll probably say, "Oh no, a lot of that was happening." So anybody want to chime in? So chat over. Did just move your head into a lot of different spaces? Were there a lot of things going on, or did you just have one single thought, or did you just have a blank mind where nothing at all was happening? So how many of you had stuff going on? Stuff going on? Yeah. Now, yeah, many thoughts, more feelings. Thank you. I'm seeing some things chatted over. Yeah, lots and lots of thoughts. Yeah, busy mind in many places, true beauty of the soul embraces. It's the way the mind works. But here's the real question for you. How many voices were actually in your head as you did that? It's great if you can say every thought that I have is a thought that is in my own authentic voice. If you can say that, what you're actually saying is, I am not repeating the things I've heard other people say that I haven't really vetted. I'm not just becoming a conduit for other people's voices and messages. So this truth that you have in your head, is it really your personal truth, or is it something that has been trained into you over the course of your lifetime? Something's been programmed into you. Is it genuinely something you value, or really your values? Or are these the values of other people from long ago, or even in recent times? Are you absorbing your values? Are they your values? Same thing is true when it comes to beliefs. We all say, I believe this, I believe that, I believe. Do I really believe it? Or is the more accurate truth that I have been trained, conditioned to hold these beliefs? Maybe they still resonate with me, maybe not so much. Maybe I've modified it, but you know, what are these voices that are telling me what I believe? Where'd they come from? When we look at opinions, are the opinions that you have going through your head genuinely your opinion? Or are we parroting the opinions we've heard from others? Or have we just kind of, without doing any kind of discernment whatsoever, simply adopted other people's opinions, things we've read, things we've listened to? And the same thing would be true for attitudes, etc. So I want you to just, for a moment, think about and answer the question, are you alone in your head? Or inside of your head, are there a whole bunch of other voices that are trying to somehow or another get your attention, move you one way or another? Maybe it was intentional, maybe it was accidental. So I'm just wondering, how many of you actually think you are alone in your head? And how many of you think that there's a whole party going on? Yeah. All right, and so like most people, you're saying like, oh no, there's other voices. For sure, there is definitely a party going on in my head. And so this is what we're really talking about. We call it the chorus of the mind. The chorus of the mind says that in your head is not a solo performance. Inside of your head, there are not only your own personal values, beliefs, thoughts, opinions, etc., but they are also commingled with the thoughts and opinions and values and beliefs that have entered your head through a whole lifetime of listening to other people, of being exposed to different messaging, things you've read, things you've watched, things you've heard. all of those things become part of the chorus of your mind. When I say to you something like, can you remember the best piece of advice anyone ever gave you? And as you answer that question, are you hearing it in their voice or is it just yours? Has it really become yours? Or are you going like, no, they're in my head and they'll probably always be in my head. So I'm not making a value judgment. I'm just saying this is the way our minds operate. We do not have a single solo mental environment. It is something that is constantly being impacted by more information coming from more voices, whatever shape or form those voices may be. Maybe we're actively seeking it out. Maybe it's just happening. We're exposed to it and we're absorbing it. So that's it. So the chorus of the mind, internal dialogue is always running. Now, apparently there are some people out there who do not think in words. They actually think entirely in visuals. There are apparently people who think entirely in kinesthetic sensations. That means they're able to solve problems, to explore things, to make decisions without using any internal dialogue whatsoever. Now, I am certainly not that person, but I have met one or two who insist that as they're thinking about whatever it is they're thinking about, that there is no words going through their head whatsoever. Maybe you know one of those people, but I would just say to you this, if that's the kind of person you are, this is probably not the program for you because we're going to be looking at words. We're going to be looking at the actual internal dialogue that might be going on. Even though internal dialogue and the fact that it's always running is normal, that doesn't mean it's the ideal situation. So an undisciplined mind leads to chaotic thinking. So imagine for a moment if, think of all these voices as being a chorus. Do they all know their parts? Are they all singing in harmony? Or are they all coming up and singing their own thing in their own key and creating this kind of chaos and pandemonium as far as your thoughts are concerned? If your mind is undisciplined and you've got chaotic thoughts, that's in turn going to distort reality, because reality means I got to shut down all this noise, look at exactly what's going on, seek to understand it to the best of my ability before I go about making any decisions or taking any actions based upon it. So my challenge is that reality is going to become distorted if my chorus gets to be louder and louder, more and more chaotic. When it comes to the way our minds operate, dissonance tends to rule over harmony. What I mean by that is that when everything is at peace and comfortable in your head, your mind can rest. It's familiar with it. It's not posing any kind of thing. But if something seems to be working against something else, that's going to get more of your attention. Dissonance rules over harmony. And noise undermines clarity. In a very noisy kind of a mindset, how do you go about finding what the truth is? How do you go about finding what your authentic self is really experiencing in terms of your values, your beliefs, etc.? What's really going on? How do we get clear around this? So one of the ways that we can help you best get clear around it is to help you understand that there are 4 types of voices, and each voice speaks to you at different levels of volume. So to kind of show you how this all works, this is one of the layers of the change grid. It lends itself very nicely to what I want you to learn about productive tension, about change management today. So you see here what we refer to as a layer of the change grid. This particular layer of the change grid divides it into 4 quadrants labeled outgrid, upgrid, ingrid, and downgrid. You'll also see 3 color bands, green, yellow, and red, that are emanating from the center. And then in the center, you're going to see a purple spot. And we'll talk about that purple spot in just a few moments. So let's take a look at these different voices. And as I do this, I want you to think about what kinds of messages have entered your brain. How they got there, that'd be a whole different discussion, but what kind of messages are coming into your mind, into your brain, and where did they originate? So The upgrid voices are voices of feelings, voices of emotion, voices that are a little bit more primal and instinctual about what's going on. And so those voices of whatever you're feeling, and by feeling, I don't mean emotions, I mean, it can also be you're feeling at this gut level sort of a thing. Those voices at their most extreme can be screaming at you, protect yourself. They can be a little bit gentler and just be saying to you, pay attention to what's going on right now. And even less intensity, they could just say, oh, notice this, take notice of this. So it's not really something I have to pay attention to, but it's something that I notice is going on. Maybe, just maybe, if it's a little bit more of a serious situation, the voice is saying, pay attention to this. And maybe, just maybe, if I'm truly in a situation where there's any kind of danger, that voice is saying, protect yourself. Now, again, these voices, these messages could be coming from your authentic self. And ideally, that's exactly where we want them to come from. But how many times in the past, I don't know, several years, several months, several weeks, whatever, have you been exposed to the messages that are coming to you from outside you? Maybe it's coming from some other person in your life. Maybe it's coming from something you're watching online, or something you're reading about, or wherever. Are these voices that are outside of you, are they saying to you, when it comes to this subject, you got to protect yourself? You're in danger. You need to be doing something right now to blah, blah, blah. And here's what it's all about. And so they're just bombarding you with all of this information that's packaged in such a way that what they're saying is that you are in danger. You need to protect yourself. Now, if they're a little gentler, they could still be coming from outside, but they're saying, like, X is happening and it merits your attention. You need to really explore this. You need to really understand what's going on. You need to do your homework. You need to get your facts. You need to blah, blah, blah. You need to pay attention to this because X is happening and X could have an impact on you. And others might just be saying, while it may be true that there are things going on, don't get so pulled into the energy. Don't get pulled so upgrid in our lingo around it. Don't get so excited about it. Don't get so frightened by it. But do notice there are things that are absolutely happening. So these voices that are coming at you, how often are they being gentler and just saying, like, the X is something that deserves you to take notice? Nope, this is something you really need to pay attention to. No, you got to do something and protect yourself in order from what's going on. So can you guys all feel, all understand that these voices from outside of you are not just neutral voices delivering a message and walking out the other side of your head? They're coming in there and they may have their very own agenda. That voice might be trying to persuade you to do something that may or may not be in your actual best interest. The only voice that can answer what's in your actual best interest is the authentic you, the true oracle of yourself. But if that oracle of self, that true you, that authentic voice of your own is somehow or another being subordinated, squashed, restricted, restrained by all these outside voices, then you may very easily fall into the manipulation that could be going on. You become very susceptible to the messaging from outside sources, who may or may not have your best interests in mind, may very well have their own little agendas, and they're trying to move you. They may want you to view reality in a much more distorted way. And so that's it. So can you guys kind of resonate with what I'm saying there? Have you ever encountered an external voice in whatever form it took that was definitely trying to influence you to do whatever it is that happens to be going on? Yeah. And so upgrade voices are definitely there. And the first exercise here is for you to be aware that a message is coming to you from outside of you. And that message is trying to communicate to you one of these, what am I saying? Ultimatums: protect yourself, pay attention, take notice. They're trying to get you to do one of those things. Now, there's another set of voices that occurs whenever we are outgrid. So outgrid is over here to the to the left side of things, or to the right side of things, outgrid. Now, outgrid voices are the voices of doing something, not feeling something, but doing something. These are the voices that are trying to somehow or another get you more engaged, more intentional, more deliberate, more calculated, they're trying to get you to move forward on whatever it is. And so when that voice is very quiet, it's very subtle, it says that whatever it is that's going on, you need to prepare yourself. You need to get ready. It is coming your way. Could be really good, but it's going to need your action. So get ready. Get ready for what's going on. Sometimes they say the time for getting ready is past. We need you to get moving. And so don't just spend all of your life getting prepared, but never do anything. So I'll give you this as a bit of a joke. I know people who have got multiple advanced degrees, but have actually never worked in any of the fields that their advanced degrees are in. Did they get ready? Oh, they got ready for sure. But they didn't get moving, or for whatever reasons, they got moving doing something else. So this idea about getting ready is a very important message for you to give to yourself, or to perhaps receive from outside of you. Not all voices that are outside of you are trying to hurt you or trying to, in some way or another, rob you of you, but sometimes they are. You got to be careful. So get ready, get moving, and then there's this other voice that's going to say, now, this is something you need to do, and you need to do it right now. Here's what it is. So get ready, get moving. You need to do this right now. Don't let anything interfere with it, And there's an intensity to this outgrid voice of doing that is basically trying to control whatever your next action is by force of character, by volume of voice, perhaps by the constant hammering of messages over and over and over. They can end up enlisting you into an army of people who are out there doing whatever, but really don't resonate with whatever that message or what that mission technically was. And so voices of doing can be voices of encouragement, voices to sustain you on your path, but sometimes those voices are going to try to commandeer your energy and pull you into doing things, taking action that later on down the road you might have rethought and wondered, did I do the right thing? All right, so anyone ever been exposed to external voices of doing who are telling you, get ready, get moving, do it now? Okay, yeah. And so now we've got all these voices. And by the way, inside of your head, it's not like there's room for just one or two. They're all there. And you might have one voice, outgrade voice, saying, well, get ready for it. Well, another voice is screaming at you, you got to do it now, but I'm not ready. Just do it now, blah, blah. So there can be this real dissonance in the voices that are going on through your head. Another group of the voices are the downgrade voices. The downgrade voices are the voices of knowing something. So when you're downgrade, you are in a situation, you'll learn more about this as the program goes on, where things are a little bit more relaxing. Relax. Things have been figured out. There is no threat that needs an immediate response. There is no battle for us to go fight. Instead, it sounds like this. So the downgrade voices start off by saying to you, all is well, but do keep monitoring. All is well, keep monitoring, or things are gelling, things are formulating, let's keep monitoring and refining, etc. As we monitor and refine whatever this knowledge is, this process, procedure, technique, tool, routine, habit, whatever it is, as we start to get more and more, let's say, resolved in the way that it's turning out, we can get to this yellow place where our mind or the minds of others are saying the processes are already in place. You've done the monitoring, you've made the adjustments, the processes are now there. Simply follow the process. It doesn't require a lot of thought on your part. Just sign here on the dotted line. Just check here. Just vote for this. Vote. What they're basically trying to do in their worst case scenario is move you all the way down grid, where they say, don't concern yourself. The processes will take care of themselves. You need do nothing whatsoever other than what the process asks you to do. So don't get too involved in all this. Don't do. One of the things I'm reminded of is the Dr. Google kind of story. So when people think there's something wrong with them and they go to Dr. Google, and we already know that Dr. Google is not likely to be very complete at all, and not likely to be very accurate. And who are we to be diagnosing such things, whatever? And so we might read something that says, don't concern yourself. Another one that just says, well, there are processes in place. As long as you eat well and do this and do that, it's all going to be fine. And so the downgrade voices are basically saying these are things that have been figured out. And if you figured them all out, they don't require a lot of your active involvement. So why don't you just delegate to this outsider the authority, if you will, the power to just follow through what's going on. So I don't need you to get involved. I don't need you to show up. I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to sign over your power of attorney. I just need you to sign over, what do they call those for stock? There's a name for it. You can't be there, and so you're signing that they can cast your vote in their absence. Proxy. So just sign the proxy, sign whatever the case may be. Now that could be good advice. That could be just fine, but it could also be a manipulation, and depending on what the situation is, who the person is that's trying to manipulate you, and where you already are, where they're trying to move you to. It's really interesting how susceptible people that are too far down grid are actually there, because what the world is saying to you, it's all cool, don't worry about it, you'll be just fine. Well, we could have some real problems come our way. Okay, and now that leaves us with the last possibility, and that is the in-grid voices. These are the voices of caring, the voices of caring. The voices of caring are really the voices that say, you need to take better care of yourself, of others. There are people who need you. There are things that require your support, etc. And so the question becomes, how much should you care? Well, if you are hearing voices of caring that are in this green band, they're basically saying to you, step up. Work needs to be done. Things can be changed. So have a mission, have a purpose. Come along and join us as we go about trying to help whoever, whatever. And so that's that voice of encouragement, that voice that says, step up, come on, take a chance, get involved, get involved. Now, if you are a voice of caring and you're in that yellow kind of mode, the yellow voices become more voices of caution. In fact, all the way around, all the yellow voices are voices that are about caution. Hold back. Don't hurry too much. Don't get too involved. Don't impose yourself. Don't interfere. Don't just kind of hold back. Stay to the background. Don't get involved. Don't get involved. Don't ask them that question. Don't in any way get yourself pulled in to this kind of an obligation. And then the red voice on the in-grid says that there is no reason at all for you to even acknowledge that anything is happening with anybody else. Just disappear. Because if you appear and you appear to be a person who cares, you're going to get sucked in to helping someone with a particular situation. So don't do that. Just vanish. Just disappear. See if you can just kind of go, I'm not even there anymore, So hopefully you can kind of hear these voices that might have been coming your way through one source or another over the course of your lifetime. So these are the 12, if you will, voices that could actually come into this chorus of the mind. Now, obviously, your goal is to decide who deserves to sing in your choir. So it's not something we want you to be this voice all alone. We just want you to be highly selective in what voices you allow into your head and what you allow those voices to actually do in terms of your ultimate thoughts and the actions you might take as a result of whatever those beliefs might end up being. So awareness is the first step on the road to recovery. So one of the things we're going to encourage you to do in the week ahead is, whenever you here, whenever you encounter an external message, whether it's something you're reading, you're hearing, it's another person in conversation with you, or maybe it's a conversation from decades ago, but nevertheless, it's back in your head, they're singing again. I just want you to stop for a second and say, which of these voices is really in play, and what are they actually trying to say to me? Is this really my voice, or is this the voice of somebody else from somewhere else for whatever reasons they had? So, and this will help you do that as you work your way through this. Now, we have to move from chaos to order, and that's where we get into the real exercise that I want you to do next. So we're trying to move from chaos to order, to move from this chaos of the mind into a well-ordered mind, because your mind right now, if you're not careful, can go through phases where there are too many voices delivering too many messages, too many agendas and values and that interfere with your own values and beliefs and attitudes, too many stories that are really going on. And it's interesting when you start to really learn about the oracle itself, you're going to realize that you are also one of those voices in everybody else's head that you encounter. When you are sharing with that other person a story about what's going on in your own life, or you're talking to them about something that's near and dear to you, important to you, you have an agenda, you've got certain values and things are going on that are kind of that are kind of a mismatch for your values, and your beliefs are being challenged, whatever the case may be. You have to recognize that when you start to communicate to others, you are also being either a voice of action, a voice of doing, a voice of feeling, a voice of knowing, a voice of caring, and with these different intensities. So you can be sure that at some point in your life, you have been every one of those at every intensity. So we'd also like to know that as you learn more and more about finding your oracle of the self, that you also take more responsibility for how you are in turn communicating with other people. Are you helping them discover their true authentic voice, or are you becoming yet another maybe invited, maybe uninvited member of this chorus of their mind? So we want to kind of clean this all up, because chaos sustains chaos and distortion never leads to clarity. So we're trying to get these voices to sing in harmony, the same song at the same time, or to step aside and become the audience, so that we can just have the soloists come forward and their little backup quartet or whatever, if you get where we're going. And the way you do that is by doing this thing we call the art of caring detachment. Are you able, this is your exercise right now, are you able to separate yourself emotionally, perhaps intellectually, can't do it physically, but are you able to detach yourself from what's really going on in your head, so you can become an outside examiner of what's going on in your head? So rather than being in your head, can you detach yourself and become instead an observer of whatever is really going on in your head? So you're not really in it, you're instead being someone who's assessing it, who's trying to evaluate whether the voice is yours or not, etc. Now, where that occurs on the change grid is actually that purple spot. It is in the exact center of the change grid that you will find your authentic voice. If anyone tries to move you off that center into any one of these other areas, they are trying to quiet, if not silence, your authentic voice, and instead replace your authentic voice with the voices that they are using to try to get you moving in whatever direction they wanted you to move. And so we want to talk about, what is this centered mind really all about? How do I find myself in that centered place? Well, let me describe for you what this voice of order actually sounds like, or actually includes. When you are in the center of the change grid, you are detached from what's going on and very observant. You're open to lots of ideas, lots of input, and you're very objective about it. You do have this kind of calmness, peacefulness about what's going on. You are centered and balanced. There's a lot of these things you've probably learned about in other kind of programs and disciplines, but this is what happens in the center. You are mindful, you are aware, you have enough of a boundary around you, a barrier around you, so that stuff isn't getting in too easily, but nevertheless, you're allowing good information in, you're allowing good insights in, etc. So that's what we're trying to do. And that's how you know we're doing it. So with that, we finish with, so what's next? We're going to be sending you a link to access this week's question. And the question again is hearing your authentic voice. We will ask you to complete the change grid as soon as possible. We're going to ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll give you the link to the YouTube channel in our follow-up email. And while you're there, we really suggest that you subscribe to it and click on the notification bell, because you want to know when the interpretation video has been put up. And that gets put up just a week after the question. So we always like to say, hey, everybody, here's your question for the week. Now we give you the week to think about it and answer it and spread the news, get everybody all together. And then we say, now next week, we're going to do the interpretation of that. We'll give you all the insights we can and give you some feedback about what's going on. Once those videos have been posted, we would very much appreciate it if you would share the links with your friends, post them up on your Facebook, etc. And find an Oracle buddy. An Oracle buddy is someone who is also working their way through the program, but someone who after class is over during the week sometime, you can actually have a conversation with and talk about what you're learning and talk about what your grid happened to have said about whatever that activity happens to be. I'll be very curious to know what this collection of individuals look like when it comes to hearing their authentic voice. You can also join our free ChangeWorks community. We'll give you a link to that as well. Free means free. And if you do that, then rather than having to watch for the videos, we'll notify you when the videos are up. And rather than just listening to the interpretation of the change grid, you can actually participate in the live webinar like we're doing right now. And we'll figure out how you guys can participate in that, ask your questions, give us your insights without having to deal with other images appearing on the screen. So we got a little bit of a learning curve to work out there. And so with that, again, just watch for our follow-up email and then follow that link to access the change grid to complete this week's question. And we'll also show you how to register for next week's interpretation session. So with that, thank you all very much, everybody. And so what questions do you want to have? Anything I can answer for you? Anybody? No? All right. Well, we've got some technical things we need to iron out, but I wanted to get started. That was the most important thing to me today. Again, we'll get all the production values improved as we work our way through all this, but I just wanted to make sure we could find a way to get things started for all of you for today. So with that, again, I'll thank you all very much for joining in and look forward to chatting with you again next week. So thanks, everybody. Bye for now.